Well, an international trade agreement brewing between 9 countries is now stirring controversy on Capitol Hill. That's because some lawmakers are wondering why it's all a big secret. It's called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and it's a trade agreement between Chile, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States, among other countries. There's even a song out now to explain what's going on. Take a listen. Now, one senator is taking the lead in speaking out against this. Senator Ron Wyden says he plans to introduce legislation that would require the U.S. Trade Representative to consult with lawmakers. He says the Obama administration is refusing to give any details on the treaty talks, leaving the American people in the dark as to what exactly is going on. For more on this, I'm joined now by Melinda St. Louis, International Campaigns Director for Public Citizen. Welcome to the show, Melinda. So what is the big secret?
Well, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, as you mentioned, is a deal between the U.S. and 8 other Pacific Rim countries. And the secret is that there are negotiations happening behind closed doors between our trade representatives, and there are 600 corporate advisors that are writing the text, reading the text, have access to it, and the U.S. public and the Congress and the press have absolutely no voice at all in the process.
And what do you think is going on behind closed doors, and what would motivate the Obama administration to keep it a secret?
Well, we know why they want to keep it a secret, because it's not an agreement that would stand up to public scrutiny. The U.S. public is actually very concerned about these types of so-called free trade agreements. In a bipartisan fashion, people in the U.S. oppose the NAFTA style of trade agreement that has offshored millions of U.S. jobs and that has banned Buy America procurement, meaning that our tax dollars can't be used for local procurement in our schools and so forth. There are concerns about the fact that it could limit internet freedom, like the SOPA legislation that was defeated in Congress. It's actually a backdoor way to get that. There are there's concerns about food safety, are the ways that we can label our food. Are we able to do that? Financial stability. They actually are trying to limit the ways that we can regulate Wall Street. So there are all kinds of pieces in this agreement where corporations are trying to go behind our democratic process and get what they want through this so-called free trade agreement.
And now Senator Wyden is one of the senators that is speaking out against this, among other people. And he is concerned that this legislation gives corporations more influence than the elected leaders. Is that essentially what it does?
Well, we certainly believe so. If the Senator Wyden, who is the chair of the subcommittee in the Senate that oversees our international trade, does not have access to the text, nor does his staff, even though they have security clearance to do so, and yet there are 600 cleared corporate advisors who we know have access to that text, that is exactly what we're seeing. And so Senator Wyden's bold move right now is saying, I don't understand why this could possibly be the case, that even a senator with his jurisdiction in our Congress does not have access to the text.
Now, does the Obama administration, do they not have the obligation to give these details?
Well, Senator Wyden certainly thinks so, and we do as well as the public. His bill basically reinterprets a 2002 law that created a congressional oversight group. And what he's saying is that the Obama administration is saying only members of the congressional oversight group should be able to have access to the text, when he said, no, this was supposed to actually increase engagement of Congress, not decrease engagement of Congress. And so all members of Congress should have access to this text.
Now, what does this mean for the American people, and why should they be concerned about this?
Well, we're very concerned concerned as a consumer advocacy group because we want to make sure that our democratic process, when we fight hard to get the types of legislation to regulate Wall Street, to make sure that we have a free internet, to make sure that our food is safe, that our water is safe. We don't want a so-called trade deal to come through the back door and actually undermine that type of democratic policymaking that we've made in our country. And we certainly don't want to be offshoring more millions of U.S. jobs in a time when there's record unemployment. This is the type of agreement that we're opening up trade with countries in Asia and reducing tariffs and so forth to make it possible for countries that have much lower wages and working conditions and environmental standards to be able to trade. And we want to increase trade, but we want to do it in a fair way that actually benefits the populations of both of our countries, and it doesn't force a global race to the bottom as we've seen in these other trade agreements in the past.
So it sounds like this is a very important treaty that can, affect everybody, everyday average citizens. But what do you think this has to say, the fact that it is being done behind closed doors, about transparency in the Obama administration?
Well, it's a very important question because President Obama is pushing more transparency. The U.S. Trade Representative's Office claims that they want to be engaged in a transparent process, but in the past we've seen trade deals where at this stage in the process they have released the text to the public, and they are not doing that. And so we're calling on the trade officials and the corporate advisors that are leading them to open this up and to. If this is really going to be good for our country, we all should be able to see what's in it. And if we can't see what's in it, we want to know why.
Now, as Senator Wyden, one of the lawmakers that's kind of taking the lead and trying to get the details out there, now has this piece of legislation in the works. How confident are you that this will pass and he'll so American people can find out what exactly is going on with this treaty?
Well, we certainly think that what he's doing is an important first step. And we certainly hope that it is a wake-up call to the administration, to other members of Congress. I think part of the reason that they've been able to get away with this for so long is that people haven't been paying attention and that no one's even heard of this treaty. But as grassroots people from around the country send petitions and so forth, we think that it's a first step. We think members of Congress should have access, but we also think the press and the public should have access too. And that wouldn't be Senator Wyden's bill is a first step, but we've seen other members of Congress also taking steps. There were 69 members of Congress that signed a letter about the ban on Buy American preferences in the treaty, that they're concerned about that. Representative Frank and Representative Levin, who are some of the top Democrats in finance and trade in the House, sent a letter saying we're concerned about provisions that have to do with key finance provisions. So I think that it's starting to get attention, and we're really glad that that's the case because we think that the American people need to know what's being negotiated in their name.
All right, Melinda, thank you very much. That was Melinda St. Louis, International Campaigns Director for Public Citizen.